right, Music Room has been around since 1976 at this location. Prior to 1976, it was called Bessing's Music Store. It was located on the east side of Buffalo. And eventually the former owner, Mr. Carl Bessing, he moved it here to follow the suburban sprawl. Originally this area, or this location, used to be a bank, and he opened a music store. Some of his clientele followed.
Is that a bank window?
Yeah, probably. And a lot of his clientele followed him. Some did not, but he built it and grew it all the way up until his retirement when I took over, and that was 6 years at the end of this September. And we've basically took what he left behind and grew it and expanded what we're able to offer, and our student base is up to over 125 students, and more to come because fall is just around the corner. We have 6 instructors, 3 guitar instructors, 2 almost everything instructors, and then we have another instructor who teaches piano, voice, and violin. And the place can still accommodate more students, more instructors if need be, but we're pretty good with where we're at. Occasionally we still have interns that also come in too, where they're usually high school seniors destined to be music majors of some sort in college, and they learn the ins and outs of music business, how to teach lessons, and anything else they can pick up along the way, like customer service skills, repairs, or kind of what it is that they are passionate about and want to learn that we can help them with. So we try to have 1 or 2 per fall.
Well, and you also, I mean, there's a bit of entrepreneurship involved too, because you're teaching them kind of what it's like to build your student base. And, right?
That's right, yeah. So they're learning not only music industry, but how to be self-employed and what that means, what marketing is, what bookkeeping is. So they're picking up a little bit of the skills in there.
Now, you were a student here, correct?
I was.
So that story. So this was your place in New York?
It was. I started taking lessons here when I was 6 years old, like the summer after kindergarten. I stayed here until end of 9th grade, and I was passed along to another more accomplished, more experienced teacher who helped get me into college. Immediately when I got my master's degree, I was hired right back to fill a teaching vacancy, and I missed a part too, because this was actually my high school job as well. I was far too young, I think, to be a music teacher, but I did okay. So I taught also from ages 15 to 18, pretty much from Y2K until I graduated high school in 03.
So you were teaching kids that were older than you?
Yes. No, I didn't have any adult students. Oh, no, I take that back. I did have a few adult students. I had a longtime piano student who was 1 year younger than me, but I was actually a little further along than her.
Sure.
So, yep, so there was a great variety, but...
So how did you come to acquire the store? Tell us that.
Okay, so when I was hired back here after college...
And you went to?
I went to Mansfield University for my undergrad. Very, very happy and very proud of the education that I received there. Immediately after graduating, after 4 years in student teaching, I was accepted into Carnegie Mellon University, and I finished that degree program in 3 semesters. I was homesick. I wanted to get back to Buffalo. So I worked really hard.
That's what I was fishing for.
Yeah, I figured. No, it's fine. No, it was a great degree program. I worked with some really amazing professors. I was a grad assistant. It was a really good matchup, but it wasn't home, and I wanted to come home. So, hired back here, taught for a bunch of years, taught her, actually.
Really? You were a student?
Yep.
So, all right, are we seeing, is this what happens? You find like these awesome students and you're like, man, they're really good at what they do. They're great with people. I think they'd be a great teacher. And did you get groomed here, or did you just already kind of have a knack? Did she have a knack?
Well, see, there's a funny story.
I was just going to say that, actually.
You can tell, actually, I'm going to swing this around because this is a wide angle. So now I got both of you in here.
So this is Angela. She's one of our instructors. She takes a lot of my wind and percussion overflow, especially, and now even starting to take on piano overflow. Yep. You can only take on so many students until you need to hire a clone. So yeah, a long time ago, about 10 years ago or so, Angela became my student, and just to pick up oboe after knowing clarinet for a little bit. And then you went on to go to college to get a degree as well, and every so often I'd run into her and be like, so you think about teaching?
Nope.
So you think about teaching?
Nope.
So, but then after a while you approached me, and indicated some interest, and I was like, "You're in."
That's what.
'Cause,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
somebody-
what good bosses do. She put the bug in your ear, and you're like, maybe I should do that. Nah, maybe I should do that. Nah, maybe I should do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
but it came at a great time because my schedule was pretty much maxed out, and it was like, well, I don't want to put people on a waiting list. Waiting lists are not fun, and we strive to not have them here. So it was really good timing, and she was ready.
So how did you like? What happened with you? So you were a student here, and what was your instrument?
Started on oboe, and then a lot of lessons I would walk in the door with a different instrument. Like, oh, we're gonna play clarinet today.
But you were
I got a
good.
bassoon now.
But you were good at all of them.
I remember
You
bassoon
were
day.
adept at them.
Yeah.
Right?
Bassoon day wasn't a good day, but
No, bassoon day was a bad day.
It was a difficult day.
yeah.
Is there a commonality? Obviously, it's a wind instrument. They're all wind instruments. Is there a similar technique for these that kind of transfers to one to the other?
For the most part, yeah. A lot of the stuff with the mouth, the embouchure's the same. Some of the fingers match up between them. Really just subtle things from instrument to instrument that make them all different.
And do you enjoy hopping around? Well, you were
Yeah.
trying to find your instrument, though. That's a lot of people, I think, do. How old were you?
When I started playing when I was, I think, 9.
So you're a
and then
little
I
kid.
started doing lessons here when I was, like, maybe 13.
Okay. So you're exploring.
Yeah.
And your primary instrument is oboe, right?
Yes.
And do you teach other instruments? You do, because you're a multi-instrumentalist. What other instruments do you teach?
Pretty much all woodwinds, beginner to intermediate brass and percussion, and I'm going to be starting beginner piano, actually, next week.
Awesome. You guys are like a wrecking crew.
Yeah,
we try to be.
That's really cool. So now how long have you been teaching, Angela?
I started last August, so just under a year now.
Wow. And what college did you go to again?
Villa Maria College.
Oh, that's a great school.
Yeah.
So it was in what? What's your degree in?
Bachelor's in music.
Bachelor's in music. And did you stay with the oboe through the whole time? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. And-
We did piano lessons as well. That was required.
Okay. And now tell me about the percussion, too. You said you're a percussion teacher.
That just started so I could take her overflow.
Now, do you have adult students here?
We have a lot of adult students, actually.
So,
Yes,
awesome.
probably
Hold on.
more.
Let me go right on. So, well, that's a really good point because I don't even think about that. I think it's all, like elementary, junior, high school. But you have a lot of adults.
We do. We have some that have retired, and they want this to be their retirement project. We have some that are parents, and they want to learn alongside their children. We have some that just want to pick it up and learn it for fun. It's a little bit of a mix, and I would say right now we have more adult students than we've ever had, and that's fantastic.
See? So that's fresh. That's really fresh content because
true.
most people don't think about that at all. They say that when your brain's hardwired, it gets more difficult to learn. Is that
It's easier.
Really?
And the reason why I say that is because they're footing their own bill and they're investing in themselves, in other ways besides just paying for their own lessons because they want to learn. They're not investing in their child who maybe is trying it out, maybe they're not as passionate about it, but maybe they themselves are, or at least are enough to give it a shot and see how it takes them. So they're going to be the ones that put in the time at home and practice and, help us along by indicating what it is that they want to learn or what their goals are, and we can custom tailor our teaching and our teaching methods to match what is going to motivate them the most. We have some adult pianists that are learning some pretty neat stuff right now, not just working in a method book, but they're far past that and playing the music that they like the most.
Well, that's awesome.
Yes.
Well, and as we age, it's supposed to be, and as a musician, I know this, but
It's
the general
true.
public, if
Yes.
you don't know how to play an instrument, it really helps your synaptic neural pathways and your memory,
Yes.
and it allows that rewiring of your brain that we need to function well.
That's right. Absolutely.
So it's not just serving, just, I want to learn how to play like some, whatever, ELO, Dylan, but you're really serving yourself as you age
Yes.
to take on a new instrument. And there's nothing like trying to get these and this working together.
It's true.
Right?
Of course, and there's increasingly more research out there on the effects of learning a musical instrument, or at least actively studying one, even if you aren't new at it, and what it does to prevent dementia and Alzheimer's too. I try to keep track of those articles just to see what more they've discovered about that. But there's been some research in the last few years based on that. So after I'd been teaching here for a few years, every so often, Mr. Bessing, he would approach me and be like, well, I'm thinking about retiring. And then another year or two would go by. You know, I'm thinking about retiring, but it was always my dream to be a school teacher. And I was. I actually taught at St. Mary's Elementary School in Lancaster for 4 school years. And at the end of that school year, and he approached me again, and I was like, well, maybe I should give this a shot, because it was around the time when the teaching market kind of tanked, and it was hard to find a decent placement. So I felt like a lot of things just lined up, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna crunch some numbers, let's see what we can do here. And within the month, I was like, okay, I think I can make this work. And I took over. He stayed on our teaching staff for about another year and then passed away rather suddenly, about a year after I took over the store. So at least he was there to help me along and coach me, and
this is his legacy.
Yeah, it was his legacy.
And you're taking that on.
Yes, and in this neighborhood, there's a lot of streets that come into right here where you can do just that. People walk to lessons. I mean,
that's awesome.
It is. It's very accessible.
I had a bike, which is hard sometimes, but I mean, walking is really cool. Get a little guitar case, tip on out the door. It's just a really, I don't know, just, when they get older, this is a memory.
Absolutely.
So teaching, you knew you wanted to teach since you were a child, because you started when you were a little kid.
Yes and no. Actually, when I was first hired here as a high school student, I actually originally wanted to be a professional pianist. I wanted to tour the world and play piano. And as soon as I started teaching, the motivation of watching students progress from week to week, there was something about that nothing seemed to be as satisfactory, or as to give me that satisfaction as that.
It was a sweet spot.
Yes. So that's when I knew, okay, I'm going to be in music just like I thought. I'm still going to be a piano major, but I'm going to teach, because I could see myself doing this for the rest of my life, at least in some capacity. I never looked back. A lot of people. Here's a good statistic I remembered. When I started at Mansfield, there was 44 of us music ed majors. I graduated with only 11 other people.
When you took over the store, this was what year?
2013.
2013.
Yes.
So you're on your 5th year solo here.
Yes.
Congratulations. It's a big deal.
Thank you. Yep, moving on to 6.
That's awesome.
Pretty soon.
Dude, once you pass, but you were already running it prior to that, and you had been running it for a while, right?
I had been just running my own student clientele. So I had about 30 or so students from 2009 to 2013, or at least I built it up to that point. Let's put it that way. I think I started initially with 10. And built it up to maybe 32 or so. And then when I was here full time, I could bring on an extra day or so.
How do you find your students, actually? I've never asked that of anybody.
I tried various marketing endeavors.
You put ads out?
I do. There's some print ads out there.
Yeah. You just keep them in cycle?
Yes, a little bit. I sometimes do sponsorships or donations, or like program ads for musicals. I do that, especially if a student approaches me. I don't want to tell them no. This is their thing that they're trying to raise money for also.
And you have to speak to your market. That's your market.
Yes, absolutely. The young musicians in the world coming up. I do Google ads, I do Facebook ads, but a lot of it is word of mouth. We have a lot of families here that know each other. We have pairs of best friends that really want lessons at the same time, but sometimes it doesn't work that way.
No, we stick together. I mean, I think as musicians, a lot of us start instruments as friends together.
That can happen, yes. Yeah. But it's funny, 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings, there's 3 families here with the kids all taking lessons together. It's
That's
just
kind of funny.
in different rooms and different instruments, but they all know each other. But people talk, and parent groups in school, they talk. They find the need, and then they find what works, and then they spread the news. And that's actually how we build up a lot of our clientele.
So now, are these instruments getting rarer and rarer to find teachers for, or no?
I don't think so.
No, they're out there.
I think sometimes you just need to know where to look. I've never used a recruiting tool. I've usually just kept people's resumes on file after they've wandered in and indicating an interest to instruct here. sometimes just interesting things happen, you
Sure.
know. I don't know if you'll be able to use this or not. Well, you probably could. One of our guitar instructors, Ben, he actually came from Airport Music.
No kidding, yeah.
The former owner of Airport Music, he decided to retire, and Ben was teaching there, and he needed a place to instruct his students. So I immediately brought him on once I saw that he was qualified and experienced, and had another stellar personality that I knew would work with the rest of ours.
Yeah, and I really like that your business is teaching. You know what I mean? And it's
really
nice that you
is.
have some guitars and you have the strings and accessories and stuff. But some stores are stopping teaching.
Which is very unfortunate.
And
Yes.
so it's really valuable that you're providing this in the walkable environment and in the close environment that you're in too, because, for a parent to drive a kid 45 minutes or a half hour one way, that's a lot to ask every single week,
We have at least 4 school districts just in this immediate area. This is West Seneca, Cheektowaga Central, Depew, Lancaster.
Yeah, you're getting this awesome mix.
Iroquois.
Yeah, of the whole region.
Yes.
So you don't do any home like anything. It's all here. All the teaching's done here, correct?
Teaching, yes.
Yeah.
We have one instructor that makes home visits. Actually, Becky, who's in the back there, she actually is also our resident piano tuner and technician. So I guess in that case, you'd have to.
All right, hold on.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So that's awesome.
I'm a vocalist, so I perform singing for funerals and weddings and other events like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how'd you get into piano tuning? Just fell into it?
I have a family friend who I've known just forever, who's a piano tuner and very successful at it. And I was looking for a new line of work to be in. I already taught lessons here, taught piano and voice, and it was just something that I think actually that Karen mentioned that she wanted to go learn how to tune a piano, and I thought I could learn how to tune a piano, so I did.
I wasn't being serious.
I
It's true, actually. I
Your
remember
Wile E.
that.
Coyote way to get her to. You're like, I need that on my business.
Yeah.
So a tech for a piano, it's a
Yeah.
super complex instrument.
was. Yes.
So do you handle all facets?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't do any major piano rebuilding. That's a specialized thing, and there are very few shops that do that,
Okay.
and they're quite large.
Yeah.
So individual people don't do much of that, but
But I mean, if it's a rudimentary thing, you could get in there and
Yes.
tweak it out,
Yes.
give it a tuning.
yes. So I do repairs, I do tuning, some regulation, things like that.
What's the radius? Like, how far will you guys go? About an hour or so, or no?
For tuning?
Yeah.
For piano tuning, I will go about an hour. Sometimes, if it's quite far, I will charge a little something for travel.
Sure, of course. That's rational.
Yeah.
With kids, well, what is the lowest age you'll teach? Is there a cutoff on this? I don't even know.
We try to keep that loose. We've had some success with 4-year-olds before. It's not always the best choice for every child. Developmentally, they have to be able to focus through a 30-minute lesson. They've got to be willing to take the material home and work with it, maybe even with a parent. Generally, by ages 6 or 7, they're at least ready for piano, sometimes even a little bit of singing lessons, percussion they could do, violin they could do, especially since the sizes get a lot smaller. Wind instruments don't always come in smaller sizes, so the child has to be big enough to handle, like a trombone. Like, even I'm not big enough for a trombone,
Some funny
actually.
stuff in my brain, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, their hands have to be big enough. Their stature has to be large
Well,
enough to fit that.
a lot of power too that
be.
you have to divide, and that's got to be so hard.
Some students
So-
pick it up right away. Like, I'll have kids who their first lesson, 5 minutes, and they're already playing notes.
Really?
A couple, I had one just today who, we spent about the full half hour just trying to get the muscles in the mouth right to make the sound.
Right.
So it is a lot.
Sometimes,
Hopefully.
yeah, it's like anything else. I suppose you're adept at it.
That's right. Well, alongside with our education program, we also make sure that there's ample opportunities for students to perform what they've been so diligently working on. Every other year, we do a competition, usually at the end of April, competition for trophies, and we do auditions here during like the Sunday afternoon, and then everybody goes over to Gregor's Garden Grove over on Clinton Street, and we have an awards banquet. It's a lot of fun. So we had one of those just this past April. Our next one is actually going to be a recital that's going to take place at the Lancaster Youth Bureau Band Shell, and that's our picnic concert. That's our laid-back, recital more, where the students just play what they want to play. You know, we help get them as far along as they can, and then it's like show and tell for the families. You know, people bring their camp chairs and their picnic blankets and their picnic baskets, and we just have an evening.
That's super fun.
It is really fun, and a lot less stressful than a recital could be for a student, especially just starting out.
Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything?
Excellent job, Andrew. We're gonna make a quick program. And then every Christmas, as of last year, it was 2 Christmas recitals. Before that, it was 1, but the 1 got to be too long, especially for the senior citizens that we were performing for. It's our service recital. So we did Greenfields and Elderwood Assisted Living, the Maplewood campus. We've been there actually for the last 3 or 4 years over at Elderwood.
Huh.
They have us back every year, and we added Greenfields this year. So
That's great.
kind of one weekend after the other, about 20-25 students each time. We just take them with us, and they perform a Christmas song.
So, so if a student comes in with their parent, and what happens next?
Okay, so once a family indicates that they're interested in lessons with us, whoever answers the phone or speaks with them directly just takes them through, hey, all you have to do is secure a time slot with us. Let's take a look at your schedule, because everybody's schedules are so busy these days. And we always find one of us that's available, you know, for whatever instrument they need or voice. And we match them up with the instructor that fits their schedule the best. And so once they secure that time slot, the first payment is due then just that first lesson, and they can pay weekly, they can pay a few weeks at a time, they can pay monthly. We've even had people pay 10 lessons at once, and then they're good for a while. It's all based on the instructor's rates. We all set our own rates. Absolutely. We try to make this a really laid-back environment where people can just kind of laze around and wait for their students to be done. You know, parents chit-chat with one another while they're waiting, and we just want to make it a very comfortable and easy place to work with, very approachable, and just a fun, creative space to blossom. All right, so this is made out of egg cartons. A good portion of the egg cartons were donated from families and from Crayer Eggs also. They helped us a whole lot. And then little fleece squares are put over it, and then they're stuffed with pillow filling, like cotton batting. So it's actually 3 layers of materials that sound would need to go through to pass. So.
Did you come up with this?
Yes. I did a lot of research.
That's amazing.
It's better than studio foam.
Can I tell you?
Yes, that's true. Instruments we can grab and teach off of if we need to. We have 2 digital pianos to help with further sound control, and then now this instrument goes with us to some of our performances too, so that we can ensure that there's going to be a quality piano that the students are used to performing on, or playing on to perform.
That's the big thing,
Yes.
right? Action and weight of the keys and whatnot,
Right. We do have acoustic pianos too, but the 2 digitals are a big help.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So
I grew up 3 minutes away, and then went away and lived in 3 different places in Pennsylvania because I did my student teaching in Williamsport. Came back, and after I was able to get a house, I moved again into the next neighborhood over, 3 minutes away again. So I came right back.
And you own a business here.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
beautiful.
Very deeply rooted now.
Yeah.
Well, the difference between what we do versus a school teacher is that while school teachers, even instrumental music teachers, might be with a child for maybe 4 years or so at the most, we can be with these students for as many years as they choose to stay with us. I have one student left from my original 10 that I started with. She was in kindergarten. She's a sophomore now.
Whoa. Wow, that's her whole. So think about that. That's her whole life. You were a part of her everything, and you totally changed your brain. You did.
I'm sure of it.
You know?
She's a very creative person.
Yeah, you totally did.
Yeah. And sometimes those lessons that you do talk a whole lot of during and not really play much. I can specifically recall lessons that I've taught where we've spent the whole half hour devising a practice plan for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
for in preparation for something important.
Yeah,
And that's
all,
very valuable.
It is.
How to
It's
do
so
that.
much part of all of that. I mean, there was it's because you're a teacher in the truest sense of the word. It's not just you're not an instructor. You're a teacher. I think there's a difference. There's not this cold calculated. It's the human nature of trying to enrich somebody's life.
The nurturing part.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's what we. It's a strong word to use, but enforce here. That's what we focus on, and that's mainly what we're about.